Hey, welcome back for another lesson. Today we're taking a little detour and exploring something that's not in your textbook, so that's why notes will be even more important today, and your assignment will be a worksheet. You've probably seen Venn diagrams before. You've worked with them perhaps in a language arts class doing some compare and contrast things. And we're going to approach it from a mathematical standpoint today. So the heading for your notes will be 3-6A. We'll do 3-6B, where we get into compound inequalities in a little bit. But today we're going to focus on the Venn diagrams alone. Okay, now here's what is the bad part about doing it virtually, is that normally right now what I would do is you would get out your notes and I would give you one Ritz Bits and one mini Oreo, and we would do a little experiment here. So in your notes, what I'm going to have you do is make 3 columns. On the left, we'll do our Ritz Bits category, and we're going to have to do this just kind of visually by looking at them in the picture, and we'll just have to pretend it's good that way. In the center, label that column as both, and then in the right-hand column, this will be our column for Oreos. Now what I'm going to have you do in just a minute is pause the video, and I want you to generate a list of characteristics that, as you look at these Ritz Bits things, things that you could write down characteristics-wise that the Ritz Bits crackers have. Look at these mini Oreos. Look at these. Think of brainstorming characteristics that these Oreos have. Things that they have in common, I want you to list under this category. For example, both of these are round. Both of them are small. And kind of keep going. Generate a list of things they have in common. Then things that are unique to just the Ritz Bits, put those in that category, and similarly with the Oreos, put that in that category. So go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to take a minute or two and try to think up as many things that you have can come up with characteristics wise that you can generate from here. Alright, here's what I've come up with and generated, and maybe you have some similar things, maybe you have some additional things, but let's just take a look. For example, in the both category, things that they share in common, this is what I came up with. They're both round, they're both small. On the edges there are ridges. If you notice here in the Ritz Bits and on the Oreo, there seem to be kind of little ridges on the edge. They each have some sort of filling, and they each are probably used as some sort of snack type of treat or food. As far as what's unique for the Ritz, I said, well, it's salty. It has a cracker for its outside layers. The filling is made of cheese, and on the outside layer, or on the cracker part, there are actually some holes imprinted or poked through on the cracker part. Going over to the Oreo is more of a sweet treat. Its layers are made of cookies, the filling is cream, and this actually has a pattern or a design imprinted on the face of the cookies, and actually has the words Oreo labeled on there. Now, one way that we can illustrate this is by drawing what's called a Venn diagram. So, we're going to transfer this information now onto a Venn diagram. A Venn diagram has a rectangular area, so go ahead and draw a rectangle, and then add in there 2 circles which overlap each other. What we need to do then is label these. So this circle on the left, I'm going to label this as my Ritz. On the right, I'll label this as Oreo. And now we can just start proceeding on with our characteristics we listed before. Let's see, in the both column we had round, they were both small, they had some sort of ridges on them, they each had a filling, and I think I had something about it being some sort of snack, filling and snack. Okay. All right, now things that I'm going to put in this area that are not part of this overlapped region. The overlapped region is what they share. I'm going to say that, first of all, the Ritz is more of a salty versus the Oreo, which was sweet. I'm going to say that these layers were made out of a cracker as opposed to these ones where this was more of a cookie. The filling on the Ritz was made of cheese, and the Oreo had more of a creamy frosting type of a filling. And let's see, what else did I have? Oh, that the cookies, or I should say the crackers on the Ritz, had some sort of holes in them, whereas the Oreo actually had some kind of pattern to it, and specifically actually had the word Oreo imprinted right on the cookie itself. So this is a way to illustrate and do kind of a comparing meaning we have things that are similar here, and then I list the things that are different, contrasting characteristics. Well, we can also use this when we refer mathematically to some situations. And today what we're going to talk about, we're going to apply some situations and draw them out with a Venn diagram, but use more numbers in that relationship. So if you were all here in class, I would say, hey, let's conduct some kind of survey here. And the first thing I need to know is what's the total number of people surveyed. So let's say we actually have 34. If everyone was here in class that day, we'd have 34 students. Then if I asked you, all right, anybody who participates in band, in choir, or orchestra, or perhaps some sort of musical group outside of class, please raise your hand. And let's say there I had 20 students that participate in some form of music activity. Then I say, alrighty, put your hands down. Now let's talk specifically about basketball and see how many students play basketball. And in this situation, let's say I had 5. Then that's not quite enough information, because realize in a Venn diagram I have an overlapped region, and that's an important piece to know. And so then I would ask, raise your hand if you are involved in both of those groups. And let's just say we happen to have 2 students that were involved in both. Okay? Now we've got enough information to create a Venn diagram and make a relationship. So go ahead, put a little squiggle line here, and we're going to draw a Venn diagram that's going to illustrate this relationship. Box here, or the rectangle region, and our 2 circles, this time that overlap. We were talking about music, and then the other one was specifically basketball. Okay. Now, off to the side, in my head, I'm thinking 34 students. When I get all done with laying all of this information out, my total should be 34. This overlapped region right in here is the most important place to start, because if you recall, what we said is we had 2 students that are actually part of both music and basketball. So I put those 2 there, realizing that when I talk about music now, those 2 students are still in the music circle. When I go to talk about basketball, they're also in that circle. 20 students raised their hand that they participate in music. 2 of them are already accounted for right here. The other 18 that are in music are going to be in this region outside of the overlap. They're part of music, but not part of the overlap. These 2 are in the overlap. They're in music, and that makes sense now because 18 and 2 together give me my 20 that I had that participated in music. My basketball number is 5. 2 are already accounted for in the overlapped region, so 3 more are in the basketball circle, but simply not part of this overlap that also includes music. 2 and 3 give me 5 altogether. Awesome. Now, I'm not accounting for everyone yet because I've accounted for the 20, I've accounted for the 5, I've accounted for the 2, but I have a grand total of 34 students that technically were in the survey. It's just they weren't able to answer positively to being part of either of these. When I look at these numbers together, 18, 2, and 3, I've accounted for 23 students here, but there were 11 students that weren't part of basketball or music. Put them outside of the 2 circles, still within the box. This is my class, or the total number that I've surveyed. Now it more accurately represents the total of the 34 students. So these 11 are students that aren't in music, aren't in basketball. All right, so your assignment today is now to transfer this information onto a worksheet. I have these worksheets already pre-printed in class, but you'll notice when you get to the Google Classroom, it's already posted there too. If you prefer and you want to get started and you want to print off the worksheet yourself, feel free to do that. On the front side, there are a couple of questions. This is kind of a survey talking about team, how many girls are in a team and or a club. The second one has to do with students and whether they have a television or computer in their room. And the third question has to do with students and a summer job. On the back side of the worksheet, if you get it from me, there is a pre-printed worksheet, and it's basically one question with this huge situation with 3 overlapping circles. This one is a fun challenge, okay? If you don't get it from me, this is a separate file that's attached on an extra one on Venn diagrams, okay? So your job, come and show me that you've finished your notes, and then you can get going on the worksheet and we can correct that once you get it done. Come and talk to me though if you have questions, especially on that challenge side on the back. Good luck.